you, Bridget, and hello, everyone. So we just heard how the Claris platform is evolving to help teams work faster, automate processes, and integrate data. And now I get to continue that story of advancement, but beyond the internal team. Because often a business's success can rely on how well that internal team is connected with their customers. And when that connection breaks down, unfortunately, so can the business. Therefore, a unified platform is required, one that not only allows you or provides you an efficient internal system for managing operations, but also a seamless way for customers to interact with that system and a secure, scalable bridge between the two. Now, the FileMaker platform already delivers on that first one. We've been doing it for years. It's kind of our bread and butter. But with advancements that we're working on, the Claris platform will be able to soon deliver against all three, meaning that each and every one of you will be able to build custom web portals that allow your customers to securely reach into those internal systems. And because you're Claris developers, we know that you want to be able to do this the Claris way, meaning we must provide you tools that allow you to iterate quickly and adapt to ever-changing needs. Now, I want to show you what that'll look like, but first, I think it's important that we anchor around a common real-world type of scenario. So there's a maintenance company. They're small, they're agile. The way that they stay ahead is they maintain a limited overhead. They've built a FileMaker app that they've deployed to FileMaker Go, or to iPads via FileMaker Go, and it's in the hands of their workers. It's their lifeline, it's how they're effective, and they absolutely love it. Recently, they also integrated with Claris Studio. This allows them to get job requests into the system more quickly, meaning the workers can take on more jobs, meaning they make more money that they bring home to their families. It's a great system, but what about their customers? They're in a place where they're unable to do things like check the work order statuses, they're not able to approve changes or provide feedback, at least not without picking up a phone or sending an email. And who wants to do that? And of course, the internal team is then taking time to respond to those queries. This can lead to delays, frustration, lower customer satisfaction, and ultimately is holding back the business from its full potential. This is exactly the kind of problem that you all want to be able to solve. However, it requires skills and resources that may put it out of reach for many of us. So to put that power back into your hands, we're making three key enhancements. The first is we're making good on our promise to make it really easy for you to access your FileMaker data directly inside of Claris Studio. We're also enabling the ability to create custom views, so you can create tailored custom web interfaces for your customers, and then greater level of access control so that you can be sure that the data that you do make available to those customers is always safely secured. So let's take a look at that in practice. Here is that FileMaker app, and the data that we want to make available to our customers lives in this jobs table. So we'll switch over to Claris Studio and open up a new interface for managing data sources. Now, I've already filled in some information, the host, the app that we're going to connect to. And now with just a couple of clicks, I'll specify the jobs table and then I want to mirror. And when I hit save, we're going to automatically now copy over all the schema and record data over into Studio. So this isn't our final UI. We're still optimizing things, but that quickly, we were able to move the data that we had in FileMaker, or I should say copy the data that we had in FileMaker over to Studio. And I want to pause here and make sure that we're all on the same page. We are replicating the data that exists in your FileMaker solution to Studio. We're doing this to give you the best of both worlds, meaning that your FileMaker users, they interact with the data exactly as they do today in all the ways that they love. By copying the data over into the Studio world, we're able to perform some magic. We'll be able to leverage the capabilities that Studio brings, so the performance scale, the ability to reach well beyond the number of users that FileMaker would have been able to do on its own. And you'll see, as I go through this demo, that some of that magic I referred to, where when there are schema changes, we'll automatically reflect that on both sides. And then when you do, of course, record updates, those get routed to the appropriate clients. So with that understood, let's jump back into our demo. Here we've got our data that's now available up in Studio. We're going to create that custom interface for our customers. We'll create a new custom view. We'll point it at that table. And when our new custom view is created, I want to pause here just for another moment. What you're seeing on screen here is a new custom view. It comes with a status toolbar. The idea here is that we're all coming from FileMaker. This is something familiar we can anchor to. We can jump in here and immediately start dragging fields onto the view and be off to the races, just like you were building in FileMaker. But if you haven't played with Studio, you may not know that it's flexible. We can do things like remove that status bar completely. We can replace it with something like a card list. I think in this particular situation, it's better because then a customer can come in and see at a glance what their work requests are. Now I'm dragging fields, again, from that FileMaker data source onto my view. I've sped this up a little bit just to save us some time, but I hope it gives a good sense of how easy it is to create custom views in Studio. Simple drag and drop, much like you're used to in the FileMaker world. The added benefit that as I'm placing objects and resizing things, other objects automatically move out of the way for me. So able to create views very quickly. We'll round this out by giving it a title, and then we'll add the company's logo so as people log in, they know where they're at. And here we got our first custom view sitting on top of FileMaker data. Now, I could stop here. This would already be powerful. This would allow customers to log in, see the status of their work request, see who the technician is, see what it's going to cost them. But we want to take this further. We want customers to be able to provide feedback. So now I'm going to make some schema changes. I'm going to add a ratings field as well as a long text field so that they can enter some written feedback. This is super valuable for the company. Obviously, they can learn what they need to adjust or capture great quotes that they can share with future customers. But I want you to understand what's happening here. We started with a table that existed in FileMaker. We are now making schema changes to that. And behind the scenes, we're automatically going to reflect those schema changes in your FileMaker solution for you. Meaning all you'll have to do is come in to the layouts that you want to add those fields and drag them on. And I want you to remember that because we're actually going to come back to it in just a few moments. So let's see the work that we've got so far. We'll load the page, and here we can see our custom view with all of our FileMaker data. Now, you may be thinking, cool, but I don't want all of my FileMaker data. I don't want my customers seeing other customers' information. No worries. Super easy to fix. We'll jump back into our hub view. And I've already set up a custom group for all of my clients, and we're going to be configuring a new data control. What this is going to allow me to do is match based off of the email address of the person signed in and have that match a value in a field, in this case called client email. And only when those two values are equal will it send that record information to the client, ensuring that no other customer can see that data. So now let's take a look at the customer's experience. Here's our sign-in page. You'll notice that it's not our typical Claris ID login. We're leveraging the external identity provider work that Bridget just mentioned. We're using Cognito from AWS in this case. So we've actually added the company logo, again, so the customer, when they sign in, they knew the place that they're logging in with. And when the page loads, we see, again, just that record for that particular customer. Let's bring it all home. We're going to resize the window. I'm going to drag my FileMaker solution out where off screen we've gone and taken those schema changes that were created for us automatically and just drag those fields onto the view. So now when the customer goes in and adds some feedback, in just a moment we'll see that show up in our FileMaker solution. Now, again, I want to take a moment on what we saw, right? We started with data that existed in FileMaker. We replicated it in Studio. We built a custom view on top of it. We made schema changes, provided record updates to that, and then saw that flow into FileMaker. I showed it going that direction, but I understand this is bidirectional, and the idea is that you don't have to worry about managing your data. We do that for you. Now, while this was a simple example, I think it's a powerful one. We've wanted for a long time to put the ability for you all to create custom web portals like this. But again, because it required some skills and resources, it was out of reach. This puts that in every single one of your hands. And I do mean everyone. I think this is important for developers that may have not had the resources in the past to build something like this, or even our partners that do have the resources but are looking for a faster, more effective way to create these kind of experiences. One of those partners is actually Slant Consulting, and they've been working alongside us to help bring these capabilities to life. So to hear his perspective, I would like to now welcome to stage Wim de Kort.
Thank you, Robert. At Soliant, we build a lot of web portals as added functionality to a FileMaker solution. And we're talking portals for a school to interact with students or their parents, portals for businesses for their suppliers and clients. And the use cases for Studio are not limited to these kinds of web portals, but they are an obvious one to focus on. And the options for building a web portal have always been, well, use WebDirect, or pick a third-party tool, or write your own code outside of the Claris platform. Now, WebDirect has constraints, the licensing as we know, and it lacks modern responsiveness. And when it comes to third-party tools, where we can, we try to avoid adding a vendor dependency. And that leaves us with writing our own web code. And we use React with JavaScript, and very often an intermediate caching database, MySQL or Postgres. And then we use the data API or OData API to exchange data with the FileMaker solution. And that works perfectly fine, but it is not a skill set that many FileMaker developers have. And the learning curve to get there is very steep. As Robert mentioned, it is a skill set that is out of reach for many of us. So internally, we collaborate with our internal web team, and that adds some complexity and time to the project. To some extent, it prevents us from iterating quickly based on client requirements. And there is a definite communication tax and even friction tax, because now we have two teams working on the same thing. For me, the single most important thing that Studio brings to the table is that it integrates a lot of these sophisticated skills and puts it back in the hands of you, the FileMaker developer. It cuts down on that learning curve, and it removes drag from the project. It allows us to tweak, iterate, and deploy faster. It adds a lot more power to a FileMaker developer because now we are back to working in a single platform. We have worked closely with Claris on building a solution for a client of ours using Connect and Studio. And as you can see behind me, it's a fairly sophisticated deployment with many tables on either side and with integrations across the whole platform. Pushing and pulling data between FileMaker and Studio using that live connection between the two, but also using Connect webhooks and Connect flows. Marcelo Pinheiro, our architect on this project, is going to talk about this in detail in his session later this afternoon. And all of that power is at your fingertips. That is really where Connect and Studio shine as part of a single unified platform. Back to you, Robert.
All right, thank you, Wim. It has been a real pleasure working alongside you and Marcelo to bring these capabilities to life. I also want to extend a huge thank you to everyone that participates in our external testing program. The feedback and support is incredibly valuable to us. And thank you to the folks that join me every Thursday at 9 a.m. every week, even when you're joining from all over the world. I know I tell you all the time, it's my favorite part of the week. Getting to work alongside so many of you is why I love this job. Now, everything that you just saw us share builds on something that Giuliano set up earlier, which it's not just about a bunch of tools. It's about a unified platform that comes together to help you create something even more impactful. FileMaker's flexibility, Studio's reach, and Connect's integration and automations allow you to create something not just powerful, but can be truly transformative to a business. Now, if you want to learn more about what you saw here from me today, go into more details about how the data flowing is working, as well as walk away with some practical skills that you can take back with some of the elements that are already in market with FileMaker or Claris Studio, please join me tomorrow at 9 a.m. We'll go into much more depth. Now, before I hand off, there's one other thing that Giuliano said earlier that I want to call back to, which is that AI is about advancing what's possible when combined with the platform already rich in capabilities. Capabilities like you just saw from Bridget and I. And then earlier you saw some really incredible, powerful AI-driven experiences to help you with your FileMaker solutions, both in creating them and giving them superpowers. Now, while we are working on while we started with FileMaker, we are of course looking at where we can drive AI across the entire platform. And so to share some exciting insights and give you a glimpse of what's possible, I want you to hear directly from someone that has been experimenting with some of our early explorations. So please help me welcome to stage Chris Hippolyte. Thank you.
Wow, we're seeing a lot of really cool stuff here today, right? Yeah. You guys all full up? No more cool stuff? Okay, well, I think my favorite one was Ronnie's. I really like how he was using generative AI to create calculations, because it's just so useful for FileMaker developers like us, because we're staring at calculation dialog windows all throughout the FileMaker application. But what really excites me, even more than all of the stuff that we've seen so far, is that this is really just the beginning of how generative AI can make developers like us, more productive. And as a trainer, I've been, actually for years as a trainer, I've really been searching for better ways to help new learners overcome barriers to entry on the Claris platform. And I've also been following very closely in recent years how AI can even help experienced developers streamline workflows, automate repetitive tasks, and even prototype faster. And the prototype faster one is pretty interesting because I really think that AI is profoundly changing the way that we approach building solutions. I mean, if you think about it, we don't have to worry about all the details of how we're going to actually implement a certain task. Instead, Claris is now currently focusing on, Claris is allowing us to entirely focus just on the what we want to build, and then take that right into a working solution. Now, Claris is giving me a little peek into the future, and I got to say, this is a very, very early stage, but I really think what I'm seeing is going to be hugely impactful. Do you guys want to see this too? All right. All right, well, first of all, before we get started, I just want to talk a little bit about what Claris has done here, because it's pretty cool. The approach is really interesting. So first, what they did was they designed all of the Studio and Connect capabilities as atomic-level components. And then they trained a large language model to take users' problem statements and map those to those very same components. So this allows these language models to compose the appropriate views and Studio flows, or the Studio views and the Claris Connect flows that are needed to solve that problem. So the result is actually that anyone can just describe a problem in natural language, and AI will build a plan for them. And this is the cool part. One plan, which are Studio views and Claris Connect flows combined together as one solution experience. So let's take a look at how this actually works. All right, now first, I'm going to enter in a problem statement. I'm going to say, I need an automated system to track damaged and lost devices effectively. Now, it's actually engaging me in conversation right now. It doesn't have enough information to actually build this out, so it's going to keep asking until it gets it. And eventually, AI will understand the intent, and then it maps the problem to the right components, like I talked about before, inside Studio and Connect, and it automatically generates the necessary UI, as you see there in the middle, the logic, and even the automated flows over on the right-hand column. Now that the AI has built this plan, I can even suggest more micro changes. And I can do that using just natural language commands. As a matter of fact, right here what I'm doing is about 3 or 4 different changes that I wanted to make to this view. And it does it all in real time in one shot. AI also allows us to change the flows on the fly. You see we can expand that flows column. And if we want to make configuration changes, like let's say I want to say change the parent notification from an email to a Slack post on the parent's channel. And it does that for us in real time. Or you can even add more views if you want to. You can just keep building on this. Or cleverly, if you want to revert back to a previous version, you can just use the chat timeline. Scroll up, hit the version button, and it'll revert back to wherever you just were. I could even share this with my colleagues to get their input. Just click the share button. Now think about what we've just done here. We've created a plan for a fully functional tracking system. Then we adjusted the UI, customized its automation entirely through conversation. Here's the big part. Once this plan is actually satisfactory, we can push it into production. That's right, that's what you're seeing here. Push it into production as a fully realized solution. And of course, at that point, we can leverage all the skills and the tools that we have within Studio and Connect to continue to manage this further. So we just saw earlier how easy it was for Robert to create the customer portal. Now imagine when you have AI as a companion, how many more of these solutions you'll be able to create. So AI is really going to help developers of all experience levels build more efficiently. And just like AI-assisted calculations that we saw from Ronnie, enhanced FileMaker development, you can see how this approach does the same for building entire Studio and Connect solutions. Now, as a student of AI and a career Claris developer like all of you, I'm seeing the convergence of AI and the Claris platform, and I'm really seeing it all come together, and I'm absolutely being able to visualize how much more efficient we're all going to be able to be. So I'd like to thank Giuliano for letting me get a peek in here and also letting me share it with you guys. I'm going to bring Giuliano back up on the stage. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate it.
I'm really excited about everything the team showed you and the direction we're headed. With these updates, your FileMaker solution can be infused with AI to deliver more valuable and better experiences to your users, can be connected at a deeper level with other solutions, and can be extended over the web with a native and scalable web experience, all while being faster than ever at doing it and without compromises on securities. Today, all these tools are available to you in a single license, as we made Claris Connect and Claris Studio available for free within certain limits to customers with an active, eligible FileMaker license. Make sure you check the news section of your Engage to Go app after the keynote, where you will find a link that will take you to a page where you can request access to those tools.